When missiles move faster than radars can reliably track, where does defense break down? A hypersonic weapon diving at Mach 7 can reach a capital city in under 9 minutes, leaving almost no time to react. Traditional systems scan in sectors, blink between angles, or lose continuous track entirely, as managing threats slip through gaps in coverage. That problem just forced a fundamental shift. The United States Army quietly activated a new Patriot air defense configuration built around full 360-degree coverage. This was not a routine upgrade or a software tweak. It was a complete overhaul of how America's most widely deployed air defense system sees the battlefield. For the first time, Patriot can watch the entire horizon at once, tracking hypersonic glide vehicles, cruise missiles, ballistic threats, and coordinated drone swarms simultaneously. What came online changes the defensive math for every adversary planning a strike. Russia has used Kinzhal missiles against Ukrainian infrastructure. Iran supplies ballistic missiles to proxy forces across the Middle East. China fields hypersonic glide vehicles, specifically designed to evade terminal phase intercept systems. All three rely on the same tactic: saturation. They mix expensive missiles with cheap drones. They attack from multiple directions at once. They overwhelm defenses built around limited radar sectors and finite interceptor inventories. The original Patriot radar, the AN/MPQ-65, entered service in 2003. It scans a fixed sector rather than the full horizon. In coordinated attacks, threats approaching from the rear or flanks can remain unseen until the final moments. The system has proven effective. Patriot batteries intercepted multiple Kinzhal missiles over Kyiv in 2023. But those successes came despite a structural limitation that adversaries are actively learning to exploit. That limitation is now being addressed. The new Patriot configuration replaces sector scanning with a 3-array, 360-degree radar architecture. It integrates AI-assisted tracking, networked sensors, and interceptors, capable of firing over the shoulder at targets detected behind the launcher. The question now facing defense planners is unavoidable. Can this new Patriot system dominate the era of hypersonic weapons and saturation attacks more effectively than Russia's S-400 or China's HQ-9? The United States operates 15 Patriot battalions, each with multiple batteries. In December 2025, Poland became the first U.S. ally to integrate Patriot into the Integrated Battle Command System, known as IBCS. Germany fields 9 Patriot batteries and deployed 2 to protect Ukraine's logistics hub in Rzeszów through late 2025. What is emerging is not just an upgraded missile shield. It is a fundamentally different way of fighting the next war in the air. Ukraine operates multiple Patriot batteries, donated by the US, Germany, and the Netherlands, facing the most intense air defense environment on Earth. Every interceptor fired, every radar scan, every engagement feeds data back into upgrades now rolling out across the global Patriot fleet. What Ukraine validates in combat, US batteries in Europe, the Pacific, and the Gulf receive as software patches within months. But here is where it gets interesting. The cost of a single Patriot battery, radar control station, 4 launchers, power systems, and a full missile load now exceeds $1.1 billion. The newest interceptor, the PAC-3 MSE, carries a unit price near $4.6 million. Adversaries know this. They are designing raids specifically to drain magazines and bankrupt defenders. The question is not just whether Patriot can intercept hypersonics, it is whether the system can do it efficiently enough to survive a prolonged campaign. In April 2025, the U.S. Army approved the Lower-Tier Air and Missile Defense Sensor LTA-MDS for low-rate production. By August 2025, LTA-MDS completed its first live fire intercept at White Sands Missile Range, detecting and tracking an air-breathing threat while guiding a PAC-3 MSE to a direct hit. This is not a minor sensor tweak. LTA-MDS doubles the detection range of the legacy AN/MPQ-65 radar. It features 3 active electronically scanned arrays, 1 primary facing forward, 2 secondary arrays covering the rear flanks. providing seamless 360-degree coverage. When LTAMDS locks onto a ballistic missile arcing in from the north, it simultaneously tracks cruise missiles, hugging terrain from the west, and drone swarms approaching low from the south. The old radar would have to choose. LTAMDS engages all three simultaneously. The sensor's power comes from a new Large Tactical Power Source, or LTPS, delivered in mid-2025. LTPS feeds enough energy to sustain continuous multi-target tracking across all three arrays without thermal degradation. In trials, LTAMDS detected high-speed maneuvering targets, proxies for hypersonic glide vehicles earlier, and maintained lock longer than any previous U.S. ground radar. Major General Frank Lozano, the Army's Program Executive Officer for Missiles and Space, put it plainly: "We anecdotally say it doubles legacy Patriot radar capability, and not only does it double it, but it also provides you with 360-degree capability." Translation: adversaries can no longer approach from the blind side. Every axis is covered, every threat is visible. But there is one problem nobody is talking about. LTAMDS is rolling out to only a fraction of the global Patriot fleet in 2026. Legacy batteries still equipped with single-sector ANMPQ 65 radars remain vulnerable to coordinated multi-axis raids. The transition will take years. Until then, Patriot forces operate in two tiers: upgraded batteries with 360-degree awareness, and legacy batteries still scanning one sector at a time. The PAC-3 Missile Segment Enhancement PAC-3 MSE entered service years ago, but in June 2025, it received a software and seeker algorithm upgrade that fundamentally changed its performance envelope. The upgraded seeker improves signal processing efficiency, allowing the missile to differentiate between decoys, chaff, and actual warheads in cluttered environments. When adversaries deploy penetration aids, balloons mimicking radar signatures, and aluminum strips clouding the battle space, older interceptors hesitate. The upgraded PAC-3 MSE does not. Its active Ka-band radar seeker images targets in high resolution, discards false contacts, and homes in on the threat's center of mass with centimeter-level precision. The missile's kinematic performance remains unmatched in its class. A dual-pulse solid rocket motor delivers thrust in two stages: initial boost for rapid acceleration, then a sustainer burn extending range beyond 60 kilometers, nearly double the 35-kilometer reach of the standard PAC-3. Maximum intercept altitude tops 20 kilometers, allowing engagements against ballistic missiles in their terminal dive and hypersonic vehicles descending at steep angles. The missile maneuvers, using 180 attitude control thrusters scattered across its body, executing high G-turns that no aerodynamic surface could match. In a head-on intercept against a threat traveling Mach 7, closing speed exceeds Mach 12 over 9,000 miles per hour. At that velocity, even a glancing blow transfers enough kinetic energy to shred the target. Lockheed Martin and the U.S. Army validated these upgrades in real-world scenarios. Ukraine reported successful intercepts of Russian Kinzhal aero-ballistic missiles, hypersonic in speed but predictable in trajectory, using earlier PAC-3 variants. The June 2025 test, with upgraded seekers and algorithms, proved the system can now handle more complex threats, maneuvering re-entry vehicles, low radar cross-section cruise missiles, and coordinated swarms. Each M903 launcher carries up to 12 PAC-3 MSE interceptors versus just 4 of the older, larger PAC-2 missiles. A single battery can ripple fire dozens of interceptors in seconds, blanketing the threat corridor. Here is the kicker: the PAC-3 MSE costs between $3.7 million and $4.7 million per shot. A single intercept against a drone that might cost $50,000 or a cruise missile priced at $1 million burns through the equivalent of a luxury sports car. Adversaries understand the math. They are flooding the zone with cheap decoys and obsolete platforms, forcing defenders to expend million-dollar interceptors or risk letting a real threat slip through. Patriot operators walk a tightrope over engage and bankrupt the magazine under engage and lose the defended asset. In December 2025, Poland became the first U.S. ally to declare full operational readiness of the Integrated Battle Command System, or IBCS. IBCS is not a weapon. It is the brain that connects every sensor, every launcher, every interceptor into a single responsive network. A Patriot battery equipped with IBCS can receive targeting data from an F-35 fighter jet detecting threats beyond the horizon, from a ground-based LTA-MDS radar 50 miles away, or from an Aegis destroyer offshore. The system fuses all inputs, assigns the optimal interceptor, and executes the engagement often before the threat crosses into the battery's organic radar range. Northrop Grumman, IBCS developer, claims the network will vastly reduce the number of interceptors required per engagement by improving targeting accuracy and eliminating redundant shots. Instead of firing 2 missiles per threat to ensure a kill standard doctrine for high-value targets, IBCS calculates intercept probability in real time and assigns exactly the necessary firepower. Early tests suggest a 30% reduction in interceptor expenditure for equivalent defensive coverage. Over a sustained campaign, that is the difference between holding the line and running dry. The U.S. Army is accelerating IBCS deployment to Patriot battalions in Europe and the Indo-Pacific in short order, according to Northrop executives. By 2026, IBCS will reach Guam, integrating Patriot batteries into a layered defense architecture designed to counter Chinese ballistic and hypersonic missiles. What Poland proved in Europe: seamless sensor-to-shooter integration across multiple platforms. The Pacific theater will replicate against a far more sophisticated adversary. But there is one flaw this system cannot escape. IBCS depends on networked communications. In a high-intensity conflict where adversaries jam data links, hack command nodes, or physically destroy relay stations, the network fragment. Patriot batteries revert to standalone operation, each radar scanning independently, each launcher firing on local authority. The elegant efficiency collapses into the brute force engagements of the pre-network era. IBCS makes Patriot exponentially more capable. It also introduces a single point of failure that adversaries are already studying. In December 2025, the U.S. Army disclosed it is developing a new interceptor program, enabling Patriot batteries to fire over the shoulder at threats that have already passed overhead. Current Patriot doctrine requires the battery to orient its launchers toward the most likely threat axis. If a missile approaches from behind, perhaps after evading forward defenses or looping around terrain, the battery cannot engage until it repositions. The new interceptor, potentially a revival of the lower-tier Future Interceptor program, would use vertical launch capability, allowing shots in any direction, including rearward. Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Mobes, speaking in late 2025, confirmed digital simulations indicate over-the-shoulder engagements are feasible with the new missile design. The concept pairs naturally with LTA-MDS, which already provides 360-degree detection. A threat detected approaching from the rear can now be intercepted before it exits engagement range, closing a critical gap in Patriot's defensive geometry. What happened next is even more surprising. Raytheon, the Patriot prime contractor, integrated the PAC-3 MSE with the Navy's Aegis system in 2024, launching the Army Interceptor from a Mark 70 payload delivery system, a modular vertical launch system. The test proved PAC-3 MSE can operate from naval and land-based vertical launchers, not just traditional Patriot canisters. The Navy is evaluating PAC-3 MSE as a potential replacement for the aging SM-2 interceptor, citing its high agility and proven counter-hypersonic, ballistic missile, and cruise missile performance in various tight envelopes. If adopted, the same interceptor will defend U.S. Army bases, Navy destroyers, and Allied installations, streamlining logistics, reducing costs, and expanding defensive coverage across domains. Can Patriot now field LTA-MDS, upgraded PAC-3 MSE, IBCS integration, and over-the-shoulder interceptors dominate the hypersonic and saturation attack era, better than Russia's S-400 or China's HQ-9? Yes, but only for forces equipped with the full upgrade package. Patriot batteries, integrating LTA-MDS and IBCS by 2026, gain 360-degree awareness, doubled detection range, multi-domain targeting, and interceptors optimized for hypersonic threats. Legacy batteries still operating, and MPQ-65 radars remain vulnerable to coordinated multi-axis raids and advanced countermeasures. The transition will define who survives the next conflict and who burns through interceptors defending blind spots. First, the battlefield has gone fully networked. Patriot is no longer a standalone battery, it is a node in a joint force architecture, pulling data from F-35s, Aegis ships, and allied radars across hundreds of miles. Adversaries cannot simply overwhelm one battery. They must defeat an integrated defense web that reallocates firepower in real time. Second, hypersonic threats are no longer untouchable. The combination of LTA-MDS early detection, upgraded PAC-3 MSE seekers, and hit-to-kill kinematics gives defenders a realistic intercept window against Mach 7+ targets. Ukraine's Kinzhal intercepts were the proof of concept. The 2025 and 2026 upgrades are the operational standard. Third, cost remains the Achilles heel. At $4.6 million per pack, 3 MSE, and production capacity limited to roughly 650 units annually, sustained combat will drain magazines faster than factories can replenish them. Adversaries know this and are fielding cheap decoys specifically to bankrupt the defense. The question now is not whether Patriot can intercept hypersonics, it is whether the US and its allies can field enough upgraded batteries before adversaries close the window. Poland operates IBCS today. Germany rotates Patriot batteries through Poland and Ukraine, validating upgrades in live combat. The US accelerates IBCS deployment to the Pacific, preparing for a threat environment more complex than Europe has ever seen. By 2027, the Patriot fleet will split into 2 tiers: fully modernized batteries capable of multi-domain, hypersonic defense, and legacy systems relegated to second-line roles or retired outright. What happens next will determine whether air defense keeps pace with the missile age or whether attackers regain the advantage they have not held since the Cold War. If you found value in this discussion, please like, share with your peers, and subscribe for continued insights into emerging technologies.